Um, and then the E stands for emotion. And I'm really interested in this one because coming back to what we talked about earlier on, if we stereotype, technical people tend to focus a lot on the logic, the data, the analytics.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a quote to tee this up. It's a great quote by Maya Angelou. I've got to remember it now.
Right.
People will forget what you say. People will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Interesting.
So that's the quote. And yet, how often do you plan for a technical meeting going, how do we want people to feel in this meeting?
Right. Let's give them the facts.
And it's going back to that 3 means of persuasion. Let's give them the fact. How do you want them to feel? Bored, overwhelmed, drinking from a fire hydrant, irrelevant, annoyed. Is that what you're going for? Because that's what you're achieving. Or maybe you think, actually, I want them to feel shocked at the burning platform we're on, right? So I want them to feel shocked, and I want them to feel a bit of anger, right? That we're in the situation that we're in. So I want to feel shocked and angry at the situation, but I then maybe want them to feel confident that there is a path forward, and this is the path, right? And that I am able to drive that path. So there's maybe an example. So you could say, right, well, at the beginning, I need to tell them how bad it really is, right? So I need some horrible data points. We lost 74 customers, or we've had, spent 475 man hours debugging this issue, whatever it might be. Shock, anger, let's get that in there. Let's get a little bit of a story about the input. Dave hasn't seen his kids for the last 3 weekends because he's doing, we got some bits and pieces in there. But then we maybe want to give a bit of confidence. But actually, I think we can do this and this, and I think that's going to solve that. And I think that is very different approach to sort of giving just facts and bullets.
I wonder if people go in thinking how I want the audience to feel, or the emotion, or how they want them to remember me is I'm clever.
Yeah. But you don't do that just by overwhelming people, I think. I think the best way to do that is for them to understand on their terms why this is important and have confidence that you are the person to resolve that. I think that is how you get people thinking you're clever, not bamboozling them and boring them.
So it's not just like throwing out a load of stuff. Look how clever I am. It's actually going through the things that you've talked about and making sure that the emotion they feel is, as you say, anger, shock. I need to do something. I'm driven to action.
And often, right, a great way to do that is just by telling stories. And if I give you another word for stories, examples. So a bit like if you're in a job interview or somebody and says, tell me about a time where you did this sort of thing. Those sorts of stories, right? Because what stories do is they're real. They're about people, and they've got a bit of impact in there. So, when people hear like storytelling, there's a sigh. Oh, he's going to say once upon a time, and there's going to be a fable, and we're all going to be crying. But actually, just telling the example, what happened last week when we had this customer situation was this and that's storytelling. And so if you can wrap your recommendation around just an example of what happened that you've just crafted and finessed a little bit, you've finessed the anecdote a little bit, that's going to be way more impactful than just giving a load of bullet points.
And that leads on to the final part, which is the N, which is next steps.
Yes. So the point I'm making here is the presentation or the meeting is never the end, right? The end is when the thing is fixed, when the customers are using the product, when the value is being realized. That's the end. The meetings and the presentations that happen along the way aren't the end, right? So the meeting or the presentation is there for a purpose, and then there need to be some steps after for the next things to happen. Now, what a lot of people do is forget to think about what happens after. So they go in there, then they have this conversation, and then somebody said, "Oh, can you send me the deck?" "Oh yeah, I'll send you the deck," right?
Yeah,
and
pointless.
You send somebody a link, or even worse, a 40 megabyte file over email, that's full of, And so actually back up and go, hold on. What do I want to happen next here? Well, what I want to happen next is I want somebody, so and so, to give me the go ahead that I can do A, B, and C, and that's going to drive us forward. So if you know what that is, write it down. What are
Ask
those
for it.
That's it. Ask for it, or pre-plan that those next steps are as frictionless as possible. I need your approval. So if you could just go to this link and tick the box and click yes, that will be approved. But, I've made that as frictionless as possible. I haven't got you to craft an email and think about War and Peace. I've made it as frictionless as possible for you. So if you do know what the next steps are, and you can go in with next steps, pop them in. If it's more of a meeting-y, where part of the meeting is we're gonna think about what those next steps are going to be, make sure you ring fence time, right? Time management. So often you get to the end of the meeting and go, oh, I've got a dash, right? Bomb, gone.
Yeah.
So you've got to be thinking,
or worse, that I've seen this. People come in, they go, I have a presentation, and they just lay it out, and they sit back and go, I've done my job.
Yeah,
and everyone goes, okay, what next? And there's no idea, is there?
Exactly. So just ring fence that time and go, right, I'm going to make sure that we have got 5 or 10 minutes, or 10 minutes, if it's a good meaty one, we're going to work out what the next steps are. And then just go to that next level of detail. Right, what we're going to do, who's going to do it, when we're going to do it by. Right, have we all agreed? Yeah, I've looked in the whites of your eyes, or your digital eyes if we're on Teams or Zoom. Right, we're all okay. And then follow up with an email, right? This is what we all agreed to, or wherever you put your actions, or wherever you put your minutes.
Yep.
And then set yourself a little reminder to chase up.
Yes.
Bill, you said you were going to do this by Tuesday. Have you done it? And I don't think there's anything wrong with holding people to account for things that they've said.
Right.
That they've said
I
that they
like
would
to use
do.
the word promises. It's like, we promised to do this, and then people go, oh, okay, cool. So recap. So let's just prove that I can spell Aaron. So we have A for audience.
Yeah.
We have O for objective, understanding what the objective of the people in the meeting is. R for remember. What do you want them to remember?
Yep.
E, emotion. You want them to feel something. And N is next steps. And that spells Aaron, whatever.
Whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. Or I say Oren, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
And so once you've got that, because now, right, you can now craft, right, what slides might I need to support this? What diagrams, architectural diagrams might I need or not need?
Yeah.
What anecdotes and stories might I need here? Do I need to demo the technology? And if so, what would that look like? So as you're then starting to think about what content, what narrative, what message you want to give, you can just keep referring back to this and,
go,
all right, I want to talk about this thing. Hold on. Is this one of the things we want them to remember? No, it's not. Be brutal. Get rid of it. Less is more.
Yep,
we want to land this message with impact. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how do people use this? Is this just a sort of a series of things they hold in the back of their brain, and then when they're going to communicate, refer to it and make sure that what they're delivering is on point? Or is it that, for example, if they're going to do, as you've just described, a presentation, they begin by writing down the 5 points and then filling in the color? How do you see people applying this practically?
So as you start off, right, it takes a bit more time, right, because you've never done it before, and it's a new thing. So I'd probably start with some of your higher value meetings or some of your higher value presentations, like more important stuff that you need to do. So I'd probably start there. When you can ring fence a bit more time to prepare properly for this important meeting or this important presentation you've got to give, and then I'd fill it out. The more you do it, the more muscle memory that you get, to the point that now, when I'm speaking to somebody, the first thing I'm asking myself, what's the role of this person? They've asked me a question. On what terms do they want to hear this? Do they want to hear this in a deep technical way? Do they want to hear this in a big picture way? So, okay, why are they asking me this? What's their objective here? Right. So how can I answer that? Now, what is it I want them to remember about this thing? Okay. And how am I going to make this a bit more engaging? Am I going to tell a little joke, and is there anything that we want to, and actually that's now in my brain all the time. So almost every interaction I'm having with somebody, I'm sort of going, oh, how can I meet them where they are? Yeah. Hit the objectives, make it a bit of engaging, make it a bit more memorable, and drive some action. And So I'd say start off with the higher value ones because it's going to take you a bit of
So
time
sort
to
of
get used
the
to it.
low frequency, most impactful, most important, maybe the things you're a bit more concerned about and you want to
Yep.
land.
Yep.
And then progressively you get it into your more regular, everyday, sort of lower impact, but still very important. So you begin meaty and big, and progressively it becomes part of your natural approach.
Absolutely.